Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Story Forge. I'm your host, Grant Ellis, and this week we're exploring outlining a framework for our campaign setting in 8 basic steps. These 8 basic steps are designed to very simply explain your campaign setting in the world that you intend to build to your player characters. I feel these steps are best articulated in the 4th edition of Dungeons & Dragons Dark Sun campaign setting, so let's crack open that book and take a look at it. 4E Dark Sun begins by level-setting expectations about the world of Athos where the campaign takes place. They explore climate, terrain, technology, magic, politics, theology, ecology, and tropes, all in 8 bullet points. We begin with, the world is a desert. At a very high level, we learn about environmental factors and key geographical aspects. Players are informed immediately that the world is a hot, dangerous place of sand, salt, and stone, painted by a dying sun. The world is savage. This characteristic makes up the demeanor and disposition of the world, and how it impacts the quality of life at an individual and cultural level. Savagery is built into the psyche and makeup of the population, and the creatures that inhabit the planet. Metal is scarce. This introduces the technology and resources of the dying world to the player characters. We learn what restrictions exist for the players. Armor and weapons are constructed out of insect hide, wood, bone, and rock. This informs the technology that the players will have access to. Arcane magic defiles the world. Here we learn the impact magic had on the world, and gives us a brief historical perspective as to how and why magic functions the way it does. Sorcerer kings rule the city-states. This informs us the major political powers of the world, particularly in areas where the player characters may explore. The gods are silent. Here, the religious cosmology of the world is informed and may cause direct impact into the mechanics of player character classes, societies, and cultures. Fierce monsters roam the world. This is a reference to the world's ecology, wildlife, and level of danger that occurs while traveling the geography of the planet. It is important for players to know how dangerous the wilderness is when they travel from location to location. Familiar races aren't what you would expect. The designers are upfront about breaking fantasy tropes. They follow up with examples about how elves, dwarves, and humans fit into the campaign world and how it's different than traditional fantasy settings. We can emulate the designers of the Dark Sun setting and ask ourselves 8 similar questions in order to build this campaign world. First, let's bullet out the environment, climate, and terrain of our world setting. My world's going to be lush with rich forests, deep lakes, and tall mountains. Beautiful fauna and flora will fill the planet. As for the demeanor and disposition, my world will be kept in near perfect balance by spirit guardians that inhabit every region. Thanks to their otherworldly grace and perfection, the land remains in perpetual peace. Traditional sciences are most dominant, but the higher sciences are dominated by spirit craft, the science of harnessing the power of the spirit guardians into tools and instruments. The spirits dominate the lands, but the dragon ships dominate the skies. We introduce conflict into the setting by 2 opposing magical forces, the divine magic of the Spirit Guardians and the arcane magic of the Dragonkin. These individuals have invaded the realm, soaring through the skies in their flying dragon boats and seeking to conquer and claim the land below. This ties directly into the politics of our world. Spirit Guardian communities exist in each biome: mountain, plains, forest, marsh, and lake, but invading dragon military are establishing a foothold in the world. As for our religious cosmology, the divine guardian spirits live amongst the people, meaning that the gods themselves are close enough to the world that they are a common part of it. Our wilderness and dungeon ecology involves guerrilla military seeking to capture and claim the indigenous Fae, while the tipping balance is causing the creatures of the world to radically change their behavior to violent and defensive. Our explanation of tropes will involve Fae creatures ruling the wood and dragonkin ruling the skies, but there will only be one human in all the world who has appeared as a result of a divine ritual performed by the Spirit Guardians. This character should be played by one of the players. Now give it a try yourself. Describe an environment, meaning the climate and terrain of your world and how it impacts the players. Second, describe the disposition and demeanor of the majority of society. If you had to describe it in one word, what would that be? Do the same for magic and also for technology, even if all you can come up with is describing it as high or low. Describe the kind of resources the players will have access to for both magic and technology. Describe the major political powers of the world, paying particular attention to the major authority in the land where the player characters are going to start. Describe the wilderness and dungeon ecology. What dangers face the players while they travel? In the game Dungeon World, this might be described as a campaign front. Lastly, describe the fantasy tropes being used, be they traditional or turned on their head. With a little effort and following these 8 basic steps, you can articulate your campaign setting to your players, which will help inform the character creation process. Having an initial framework such as this will level set their expectations and help them participate in amazing stories that lie ahead. In the next video, we're going to discuss history and how it impacts the campaign setting.